I'm Dylan, and this is my final major project presentation. So to start off, my idea is an informed documentary on the history of skateboarding. And my aim for the documentary was just to educate my audience um, of where skateboarding first started, where it is now, and a bit of information on what the tricks are and how they've become uh, become what they are. My mode of address is expository and observational. So my initial idea, I found quite hard, as I wasn't able to think of one before I actually came to the final major project. But then we had group discussions with my other colleagues, and it helped me get the idea I wanted to do for my final major project. My aims were to do get archive footage, stills, film in an expository and observational mode of address, and yeah. The hooks and themes are obviously the history of skateboarding, the tricks and skills, and I also talk about the sport pioneers. My target audience is 16 to 24 year olds, and they fall into the categories of D, B, and E. I gathered this using my surveys, which I got in my research document. I found these surveys really helpful just because it gave me a good idea of what age my audience was. I was also with the ages, I was able to put them into categories such as the different generations. I could also, with these ages and statistics, I can also compare it with other statistics that have similar productions to me. When completed, I'll be sending my idea to competitions such as a Google competition or London Life. Through this, I can find out how good my video was. I can also get feedback from this and just different types of feedback from audiences. My secondary target audience is part of Generation Y, as they were about when skateboarding was first becoming big. Um, they're between the ages of 25 and 34, and fall into the category the C2 demographic. Through my research, I was able to gather a audience profile. With this, I know the demographics of my audience. I know the age of my primary audience. I'm also aware that most of my audience is also male from my survey results, which I got in my research document. The types of questions I asked in my survey were what is your age, male or female? Um, do you skateboard? What's your favorite type of skateboard? What do you know about the history of skateboarding? With these questions, I can gather good statistics and just general information I need to know before I go out into production. So yeah, here are some of my initial findings in my research. I sent this out via Twitter, email. I also gave the link out just to people that I know, just in general. So some of the similar products I looked at were Dogtown and Z-Boys, Made in Venice, and Bones Brigade. I found not all of them have what I was looking for. So Dogtown and Made in Venice have similar styles that I want to film, so observational. Whereas Bone Brigades, I like the interviews they do, which is also what I aim to do when filming. For my secondary research, I used case studies, similar products. I looked online, books and guides, and just other surveys. Also, for my secondary research, I did some historical research. As I'm talking about this history of skateboarding, I went from the 1950s to skateboarding today, so I have a wide knowledge of where skateboarding has been and where it is now. I found this research very helpful, as when I'm asking questions, I know what to ask. Also, with the surveys, I know what my audience generally don't know, and maybe not what a pro skater would know. For my visual research, I looked at some of the skate companies, I looked at different types of boards, and I looked at different types of skills. Um, so with one of these pictures, which shows all the common skateboard companies, which I tend to talk about in my documentary, just because it's a big part of the scene. Also, some of the shots you'll see different types of boards, not just skateboards, which is what I wanted to include, so that I don't just get just skateboarders viewing, or some people with penny boards, long boards, all types of skateboarding. So these are my contributors. I have Zachariah and I have Christopher Robin. And I also have to contact my two contributors. I found it quite hard, as one of my contributors works very late. So getting in for an interview was hard, but I was able to do it through a friend of mine. The equipment I used during this documentary is a Rode mic, Canon camera, tripod, and lighting. I only used 2-point lighting in one of my shots. I wasn't able to get 3-point lighting in my interviews just because of where I was. The locations I shot at: South Bank, Torrington Park, and Camden. I found the schedule very helpful during the course because I would constantly fill it out. So I knew what I was missing on days, because I would always fill out 3-4 days ahead, so that if I fell behind, I could just go to the schedule and find out what I was missing or what I still need to include. So yeah, as you can see, I've filled out a majority of the boxes, including the weekend, as I tried to do work every day. And if I didn't, I would just go on the Wix and just update my work constantly, so that I wasn't falling behind. For the feedback, I went on SurveyMonkey, and I made a survey for the people that watched my documentary. This way, I can just get feedback from my audience to see what I did well and what I didn't, and just general criticism for anything I just could have done better in the video. I would also get it off YouTube comments. I'm also going to get contributor feedback, so the people that were involved in my documentary, what they think of it. So for more similar products, I looked at E4's target audience. I found that they have the most similar target audience to me, as most of their target audience is actually 18 to 24, but they have a higher percentage of female viewers to male. Um, I found this research helpful, as I now have something similar to what I need to do and how I show my audience. Another similar was BBC Three, which is also quite similar to mine, as it's all online, and most of their viewers are also 16 to 34, which is it fits into my target audience. So these two, E4 and BBC Three, are both helped me, as I now have two websites, two TV shows, which have similar target audience to mine, which so I just have to follow, but make my own. I also looked at, for my secondary research, Google Trends for skateboarding, and I found that skateboarding is most popular on Go Skateboard Day, which is the annual day for the International Association of Skateboard Companies. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to film on this day, as my FMB didn't fall between that time, so I wasn't able to film anything on this day where it was most popular. Yeah, going back, this is also my similar products, of course. Some of them do follow my documentary quite well, where others are similar in some aspects and not so similar in others. Here's some more visual research, which shows obviously people doing skate skills, pioneers, different types of skateboards, and just skateboarding in the past. This all gave me ideas for what I wanted to do with my idea, and it really helped me with my initial ideas. Going into stuff that influenced me for my idea, I analysed 3 pictures from my visual research. These were, one of them was Rodney Mullen and Alan Ollie Gelfand. These two are pioneers in the game, and I speak about them frequently in my documentary. I also show a picture of an old skateboard, as I will be talking about the history of what skateboards even used to look like and to where they've come now. And I also have famous person in the skateboard, as pioneers have become a big part of the game, and not only them but also famous people, and it's a lot bigger from where it was now. So yeah, I look at all of this just so I know what I'm talking about in my documentary. Also, for some influence, I went on YouTube to look at interview skills. Um, some of the stuff I picked up were lighting, which I did include. I include 2-point lighting with my interview with Zach. I also looked at, this video also told me that eye contact is also a big thing in the interview, as you don't want them looking directly into the camera, but you don't want them looking directly away from the camera. So you want it just in between, so there's eye room not only for contributor, but it doesn't look like they're staring into the camera lens too much. I found this really helpful, as I do 2 interviews during my documentary, and I use these tips on interviews to help me throughout. My other 3 similar products were Vice Skate World. This helped me because I also looked at Vice. They have a similar target audience to me. Not only is this documentary helpful, as it does the interviews that I want, and it's also the same mode of address, but it's also filmed in England, so it was a good help and guideline for what I need to do for my documentary. Another one is Skate London, which is also filmed in London. The mode of address is different, but it does have some observational style, which also helped me with some of the shots that I want to do. So that would include tracking shots, establishing shots, and just different type of shots that are used in this. For experiments, we were put into groups and we had to recreate a film scene in groups and then edit it on Final Cut Pro. I found this quite helpful as it warmed me to Final Cut Pro. I now know the ins and outs and what skills I want to include when I'm editing my documentary. It also helped me not only with Final Cut but actually taking shots. As you can see, the shot here is shot above, and then you've got the close up, and the actual video shows a manual focus, which I also use the type of shot in my documentary. For my production research, I made sure to do a lot and make it quite extensive, as in my previous project I don't think I did enough. So when in production, I felt quite confused and I would get off to a slow start. But for this one, I made sure I knew what type of shots I wanted to do, what camera I was using, who I was filming, what I was asking, and just asking these type of questions so I know everything I'm doing going into production and everything I need to do when I'm in editing. For my budget research, I looked at obviously my camera, my lighting, audio, and the price that would cost to rent or just buy it out. I also looked at the Bet2 rates, and I also looked at my workflow. I found the workflow quite helpful, as I need to always keep a look at my workflow, because if I'm ever behind, it can slow me down. I need to know if I'm falling behind the one bit because I'm focusing on too much time on something else. This and the schedule, I think, really helped keep me in check. I was a bit slow during the initial part, during the context and research part. But as I got into research and production, I feel like I got better and more focused into the course. For my interview questions, I made sure to get them all written out, and because when going out, I don't want to ask questions just off the top of my head, so I made it quite professional. Ask questions that directly relate to what I want to inform my target audience about. So yeah, as I said, I feel like during the context and research, I was quite slow, but as I went into pre-production, my focus and just general performance went up. As by the time I was in pre-production, I knew what my idea was, so I was just gathering research, getting ready for production, and in production, I made sure to get all the filming I could, um, so that I had all the shots I needed for post-production. Unfortunately, going into post-production, I found that I did need some more shots. So I went back. I went to Torrington Park, which is also called Ferrari Park, and I just got some more shots. And I made sure to put it in my problem solving, um, and also my production paperwork, as I had to add another call sheet and another risk assessment. I feel like I could have done better with my production paperwork. I was able to get the risk assessments done, but my call sheet I did leave behind a bit late, and my script I also didn't do until quite late. This is mainly because I was focusing on other pieces of work, which I also put in the problem solving, where I would get distracted by something else, and I'll put more time into say my research document than my production paperwork. I made sure to put all my videos and all my videos onto my Wix website. This is shown in a document in my Google Drive folder, where if you click on this link and you go to my final major project, it will come up and it will show my my pitch, my final video, my rough edit, and all other videos such as experiments that I did before my production, just warm me up into to the production. So yeah, all my videos are on my Wix. So for my evaluations, I made sure to do one for each stage of the course. That was content and research, production, pre-production, and post-production. And then with my final final evaluation at the end of my research document. I found evaluations quite hard to do as I came to post-production and then the final evaluation, as I found myself rushed at the end of the course, as I wanted to improve some of the work I did, but I also had to complete my evaluations. I made sure to add images just to give you a good idea of what I did well, what I didn't do well, what I think I could have improved, and yeah, this is my production evaluation, where I show a screenshot of my problem solving log, talking about the problems and how I'm filling it in, and I also talk about what I learned new and how I can use the new learning. So for audience feedback from my video, I made sure to do a focus group where the link is shown here. I also did a previous focus group for my initial idea. These focus groups helped me find out what was good about my video, about my rough edit and my final edit. It told me what I need to improve, what I'm doing well, and anything I wasn't aware of, or anything I could add. So I found this quite helpful. The other way I got my feedback was through another survey. In this survey, I asked questions such as, what do you think of the lighting? What do you think of the audio? What I could have done better. And I found this feedback probably the most helpful, as with most of the questions I asked open-ended questions, so I could get a detailed response. I also asked a question where I asked what went well and what I could have done to improve. For most of my answers, I got told it was good. I also got told that I could have gone more in depth, and that I should have featured more skaters in my documentary. So I took all this criticism and spoke about it in my research document. In conclusion, I feel like I did well during my course. I feel as if I could have worked quicker, I could have been more efficient in the post-production phase, as I found myself a lot more rushed than I was during the production and pre-production, just because I left some work to the end which I should have done sooner. I feel as if I could have gotten a lot more feedback as I only got 30 responses. My aim was to get at least 50 responses, but with the feedback I got, I was able to find what I did well and what I didn't do well. And that's my final major project presentation. Thank you.